But
Well, actually, let's talk about the 49ers because they lost
fine.
to the Chiefs. They have so many injuries riddled throughout. And I was about to say, I think if they pull the Niners, they could beat the Niners. And that's coming from a Niners fan here who's concerned with this roster structure this season. The thing about the 49ers when we go on the super runs, one of the key components of those teams is health. They got lucky and stayed healthy in those Super Bowl years for the most part. And this is just a year where none of that is breaking their way. So many, but by the end of the season, you could potentially have Debo fully healthy, McCaffrey healthy, Dre Greenlaw maybe comes back, Ufunga healthy. So you start to get a lot of those pieces back and you could get hot at the end. But the way it's looking right now, I don't see it being a crazy situation where they lose to a team like Washington in the first round.
But yeah, I mean, you just said it. I mean, look how many injuries. I mean, just in the receiving core alone, Brandon Aiyuk done for the season. Debo Samuels had to be hospitalized. Juwan Jennings was out. They had me, you, and a guy who's coming off a gunshot wound running routes. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to beat the Super Bowl champion Chiefs when you don't have your lineup stacked. You're running with Jordan Mason, which by all means, Jordan Mason has been really good, but he's no Christian McCaffrey. And then you're banged up on the defensive side as well. So I think a lot of these problems that we're seeing will mitigate themselves as this team gets healthier down the stretch, but it's don't dig yourself a hole too deep that you can't get out of. And I think that's the danger of where we're at right now with the 49ers is once they do get healthy, are they going to be able to bounce back? You just can't dig yourself too deep. I mean, we'll see moving forward, but they already have losses to the majority of their own division. So that's again a tough hole to dig out of.
Yeah, and I believe they play Seattle next. You win that game, you're back in first place. Everything, it's your destiny. You control your own destiny from there on out. I think there's just problems with this team that probably don't get fixed this season. Like special teams is terrible. The D line just isn't there, and there's no one coming in to save the day for the defensive line to change that. The offensive line has been suspect, especially the right tackle position. Maybe John Feliciano comes back, put him in the right guard spot, and you kick Puny out to right tackle and see if he can handle it. But Purdy just doesn't have the line, and the red zone offense is struggling. But you know, McCaffrey could come in and literally change this entire dynamic.
Yeah, 100%. And they don't have the Seahawks coming up. They have the it's Sunday night against the ass Cowboys. So
Oh yeah, there we go.
that's a bounce back game right there, if anything. And but it could be these are two desperate teams. They both need to win. They're both hungry for it, but hungry dog runs faster. Which one is going to be hungrier? Who's going to be able to get after it? This is a home game for the 49ers. So I feel pretty good about them going out there and getting the dub, but we've seen them drop late game leads before in this season. So
This is probably the
it's kind
perfect
of a
time to play
crapshoot.
the Cowboys, though. Like the Niners get up for Cowboys games, and they relish in beating the shit out of the Cowboys. So this is like the perfect down and out Cowboys team. Defense isn't looking great. The offense isn't producing. Let's get back into the rhythm with the 49ers offense. Let's put some touchdowns on the board because it's not like they can't move the ball. It's just putting it in the end zone. So this could be the perfect week for them to put it all together.
Okay, and I've seen the criticism of Brock Purdy this past week. He was ass. I mean, he was just straight up. He had 3 picks. One of them was a game killer. It was a baby zone, right in the end zone. He throws it to nobody, just the Chiefs player. So, what were your thoughts on Brock Purdy? What are your thoughts on Brock Purdy moving forward? How we feeling?
I mean, it's hard to yeah, you can shit on him for his performance in that game, but he's down to his fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh receivers on the roster. And yeah, a lot of those are on him. It's also on like timing with the guys you haven't really worked with. It's also on Kyle not putting together a great scheme. Like, let's get Kittle more involved. I think he had 7 targets. Get this guy like over 10 targets. Let's get the offense going. And then in the red zone, I don't know what happened to Kyle's magic, but the magic isn't there on the play calling. It doesn't feel creative. It doesn't feel like he's really doing what he was doing in the past, where like scheming things open, where it's catching the defense by surprise. I mean, and maybe it's just the coaching of the Chiefs. Spagnolo like has Kyle's number and he knows he feels out what Kyle's gonna do. But I put this equally on Brock and equally on Kyle.
Yeah, and I just don't know moving forward because this has been the problem for the San Francisco 49ers this entire season. They can't finish. They can't finish drives. They can't finish games. I don't know what needs to change in that locker room. Is it a Kyle thing where he's gone stale and you're hearing the same message over and over and over again? You try to make it to the top of the mountain, you get knocked down. How many times can you make it to the Super Bowl and get your ass kicked or just lose by barely a few plays here and there? Like, how many times can that actually happen to where you're still resilient and you're still able to listen to the same coach? I just don't know. And I think we're seeing like a little bit of that fatigue on this team. And so they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to light a fire somehow in order to save this season. But I mean, we're coming down to the stretch where you've got to win this game. Next after that, I believe they're taking on the Bucks. So
And
now's
the
the
thing with
time. We got to start picking it up.
the thing with the 49ers too, you can't deny that the scheme is different than what we've seen in the past offensively from the 49ers. They're not doing as much play action. They are Brock Purdy is holding the ball so much longer. And his main thing was make the reads, get the ball out. If not, get out of the pocket, make something happen, or throw it away. He is holding the ball so much longer. And I don't know if that's Kyle trying to dial up more downfield this season, if it's the receivers not being able to create separation, or if it's Brock feeling uncomfortable and holding the ball and not feeling like he can just let it rip. But it's something wrong with the way we're dialing up this. They're dialing up this offense. It's not the full Shanahan offense. Quickly, let's move, let's run the ball and get the ball out that we're used to seeing. And I think that's really been the main downfall of this offense in the red zone for sure.
Every quarterback is going to have games like this. Again, I think I've seen a lot of discourse online. They're like comparing it to Josh Allen, where Josh Allen, Josh Allen doesn't have receivers, and look at what he does. Allen also had like 2 or 3 weeks ago a game where he completed 9 fucking passes. So it happens to the best of them, realistically. So I feel pretty good. I've seen what Brock Purdy can do. I know that I feel comfortable with it moving forward. Do I feel comfortable with it when he's going to be making a shit ton of money? I don't think so. You know what I mean? And then, so that's like you have to make a decision on Brock Purdy this offseason. What are you going to pay him and how is that going to affect this roster construction? Because the 49ers do already have a lot of the top paid guys at their position.
Well, let's